Isaiah 62, verse 1 to 7. For Zion's sake, I will not keep silent. For Jerusalem's sake, I will not remain quiet, till her vindication shines out like the dawn, her salvation like a blazing torch. The nations will see your vindication, and all the kings your glory. You will be carried by a new name. The one mouth of the Lord will bestow. You will be a crown of splendor in the Lord's hands, a royal diadem in the hand of your God. No longer will they call you deserted, or name your land desolate, but you will be called Hephzibah, and your land Beulah. For the Lord will take delight in you, and your land will be married. As a young man marries a young woman, so will the builder marry you. As a bridegroom rejoice over his bride, so will your God rejoice over you. I've posted watchmen on your walls, Jerusalem. They will never be silent, day or night. You who call on the Lord, give yourself no rest, and gave him no rest till he established Jerusalem and make her the praise of the earth.
Thank you, Benji. Last week, at our small group that we have on a Sunday night, we had someone join us for the first time. Rachel came, and we wanted to help her learn all our names in the group. And so the way we did it is we gave each other a nickname of the same letter as our real name. It kind of worked. I mean, so we had Pete. I don't know where Pete is. Pete we called Pucker Pete because he's so cool. And we had Judith, who we've all seen welcome today. Judith wanted to be Jumping Judith because she's so sprightly, but we felt no, Jolly Judith. So anyway, that's kind of how it went. We went for some nicknames to help Rachel learn everybody's real name. Now, I wonder, children, do you sometimes get called a nickname by your mummy or your daddy? Maybe you spill over a drink at the table when you're having lunch and mummy says, "Oh, you silly sausage." Or maybe you're sleeping in the morning and in comes your daddy and he says, "Oh, look, it's time to wake up, you sleepy head." What we're going to see today is that God has a nickname for all of us. He's got a nickname for all of us. And that is all of us who have turned from our sin and put our faith in him to come and rescue us, to come and save us. And that was the case for the people to whom Isaiah was writing. So these words that Benji read so well for us are really, really old. Children, they're like 2,700 years old, and they're written to a people who are waiting for God to come and save them. And at the time that they were written, God's people were having a very, very tough time. They were about to be carried off as prisoners. It looked like God did not care about them. And so actually they were getting called names by the other nations, by the people watching on. Just look down at verse 4. We get a sense of the names that they were being called. They were being called deserted, like, "You are the deserted people. God doesn't love you, can't you see? He has forgotten about you. You are deserted." Deserted. What's the other? Can anyone shout out the other name they're being called? Shout it out. Desolate. Desolate. Now that's a maybe a name we don't use very much, but it means a place that has been destroyed, or a place that maybe was once busy, it's now a wasteland, it's empty, and it's bleak. And that's what God's people are going to be called. They're going to be the desolate ones, because their country is going to become like eastern Ukraine. It's going to become like northern Gaza. It's going to be razed to the ground. It's going to look like a wasteland. It's going to be bleak. There's going to be nothing there. And children, I'm so sorry to have to say this to you, but it's important you know that as you're thinking about, as you grow up, even though you may not be defeated by a foreign army and carried away as a prisoner, there will be times in your life when you will feel desolate, when you will feel like God has deserted you. You are deserted. Yes, you will feel that name for yourself. There will be a time in our life we go, that's the name that we should be called. In fact, I was texting a friend of mine this week, and sadly my friend is quite unwell. And we pray so much she'll get better, but she might not get better. And I shared these verses with her on my message, as I WhatsApped her, and she replied saying that this week, this is exactly how she has felt in her soul. Yes, my soul has felt desolate and deserted. It's so sad she feels that. But what my friend feels, we can all feel at times. Maybe when we see how bleak things are in this world, when we see on the news some really horrible things going on, or when our life is hard in some way, or when we feel alone, or that no one understands us or gets us, or when we're aware of the wrong things that we do, or the unkind things that we say, or even the bad things that we think in our heads, we feel desolate. And it's at times like that that the clothes that Dan was wearing at the start are just right. So it's all grubby, it's all sad. Now friends, that's how we might feel at times, but the wonderful news we have this morning is that God has a new name for us, a better name. It's not desolate, it's not deserted. Did you see what it is? It's there in verse 4. Just look down at verse 4. No longer will they call you deserted or your land desolate, but you will be called Hepzibah, and your land Beulah. Now in our society, people get new names at times. I think when they move countries, so some of our Hong Kong friends have moved to the UK and have taken some English names, of British anglicised names. So that's one time when we get a new name. There's another time in our society when you get a new name. I wonder if on the slides we could just have a picture up. Oh look, right now, anyone know who these guys are? Anyone know who these guys are? Shout out. It's Isaac and Esther. It's Isaac and Esther. Now, what is this photograph celebrating? Anyone have a guess? What was it celebrating? Their engagement, because Esther is showing off her engagement ring. So these guys, children, these guys, you might recognize them. They just couldn't be here today, but they're here most Sundays. They're going to get married. They're going to get married on April, I should know this, the 5th, I think, something like that. So it's not long. It's not long till they get married. And they're super excited about it. And I checked in with Esther about this, and Esther said, yeah, when she gets married, she is going to change her name. Her current name is Esther McNeil, but when she gets married, she's going to become Esther Chidler. Miss McNeil to Mrs. Chidler. She can have a whole new name. And we're all dressed here today for a wedding because there's a wedding coming up. And there was one church where they had a surprise wedding. Wouldn't it be great if Isaac and Esther just walked in right now? We're ready to go. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. There is another wedding. And we're going to see that wedding is between. Just look down at verse 4 again. It's our key verse today. Verse 4. What is the new name that God is going to give his people? He's going to give their name, he's going to call them Hepzibah or Beulah. And it's that second one I want to look at. What does that word Beulah mean? You should have a little footnote, maybe those of you guys, if you're young, you're able to read it. If you're a bit older, it means married. It means, you think, well, who's going to get married? And Isaiah is saying, you are. You're going to get married. I'm going to give you a new name to symbolize it. Yes, it's your land here, but the land represents the people. You people are going to, God's people are going to be married. As a young man marries a young woman, verse 5, so will your builder marry you. As a bridegroom rejoices over his bride, listen to this, so will your God rejoice over you. Who's the wedding going to be between? The Lord and his people. Adults, there's a bit of debate about the translation of builder. I'll ask about that later. I just need to say it. There is a bit of a... but the context is very clear. It is the Lord marrying his people. Come back to me if you want to have any more questions. I just need to say that for accuracy's sake. Right. Now, isn't this amazing? Okay, just as a man marries a woman, let's have that photo of Isaac and Esther up just to fill our minds again. Okay, right. Just as these guys are going to get married, so the Lord is going to marry people like you or I. People who acknowledge their sins, ask for his forgiveness, and look to him to come and save them. He's going to come and marry us. So one day, we're not just going to see God face to face, we're going to be married to him. We're going to be one with him. We're going to have this amazing, perfect, loving friendship with God. But you might say, hang on a minute, hang on. My mummy and daddy are already married. And I might get married one day too. And yeah, you might get married one day too. You might. But the point is it doesn't matter, because human marriage is just for this life. No. The true wedding that we've all got coming up is the one that's still to come. A day is coming, you see, when like in a wedding service, the minister says to the bridegroom, the same question that was going to be asked of the Lord. The minister's going to say to the Lord, will you take this woman, that is all of us, the whole church, all the people of God, to be your wife? Will you love her and comfort her, honor and protect her, and forsaking all others, be faithful to her as long as you both shall live? And he will say,
I will.
I will. In fact, he will go on to say,
all that I am, I give to you, and all that I have, I share with you.
Wow, the Lord is going to one day give himself entirely to us as a husband gives himself to his wife. He'll be committed to us. He will be so committed to us that we'll be comforted by him, honored by him, protected by him, and loved with his always and forever love. Isn't that mind-blowing? Isn't that wonderful? We've got a wedding coming up. It's between us and the Lord. We're going to be given a new name. It's Beulah. It means married. And that's why we've got dressed up today, to sort of get ready for it. And I think we should probably dress this building up a bit more, shouldn't we? So let's aim to do that, I think, as we sing our next song. When I grew up, I lived in a town by the sea, and living by the sea, it meant that we got to learn how to sail from a very young age. And that meant we spent quite a lot of summer holidays messing around in boats. And it's a real shame really to spend your youth doing that, because it spoils you for the rest of your life, because whenever the sun is out, you just want to be by the sea and on the water. And so that's kind of how it was. That's how it is for me. I love sailing. I love being in boats. And the thing about boats is you give them names. It's not like a bicycle or a car. You don't really name your car. Or some you give your car a name. But boats you give names to. And one family that we knew who lived in the same town as us had a lovely boat. It's like larger boats. And from the moment I heard the name of this boat at a very young age, I've always remembered it. It's always stuck with me. It seemed to have sort of magic about it. And the name of their boat was Hepzibah. Hepzibah. I'd love to get it said in Welsh, actually. I think I'd love you to say it one time. I just feel it would be particularly good to say in a Welsh accent. I don't know why, but it's a Hebrew word. So, now what does it mean, everybody? What does it mean? Let's look down. We're back into the verses. I just got to find my sheet of paper. Okay, anyone want to shout it out? Here's my sheet. Thank you so much. Anyone want to shout out what it means? delight, exactly. It's my delight is in her, which is a great name. If you absolutely love the sailing boat you own, you delight in it. So you call the boat My Delight is in Her. Well, we're talking about nicknames this morning, the names that God will give his people. And we've had one, it's Beulah. Here's the second one, Hephzibah. Do you see that? Verse 4, you will be called Hephzibah. Hephzibah. And the thing is, when it comes to names, people do have affectionate names they give to one another. They do so in that thing we were doing in our small group. When it was Esther's turn, Isaac was straight and said, she's the excellent Esther. It was lovely. It just came out of him so naturally. That was the nickname. I actually, in the last 2 or 3 years or so, it's been quite a nice thing at home where I've been in the kitchen quite often, and my back's turned. I'm making a sandwich, making packed lunch for Romilly or something, and Claire, my wife, comes in and she says, "Oh, hello, lovely one." And for a moment, it's like, "Oh, that's such a kind thing to say." And then, yes, I'm actually speaking to the dog. That's what's going on. Every time. And it always gets me. I have like a couple of seconds of hope, and then it dies. Okay, this is true. I think literally we had this week, "Oh, you're so gorgeous." And I thought, wow, well, maybe, okay, I don't know. No, it's our dog Hetty. So it's amazing. Hetty has brought out all kinds of affection and kind words and names that I didn't know Claire was able to say. I'm going to be in for a huge fine later. Well, the Lord has an affectionate name for us. The name is Hephzibah, and he calls us Hephzibah because it means my delight is in her. My delight is in you. What a name to choose, right? I mean, we all delight in things. Children, keep listening. I know you're doing your colouring and drawing, but listen to me now. What do you delight in? Just think about all the things you can delight in, like ice cream. You know, some of us love ice cream, or maybe you delight in, I don't know, what are some other things? You maybe delight in a football team that you support, or maybe there's a TV show that you delight in, or a song you just can't get enough of, or a place you love to visit. We all know what it's like to delight in something. And just think of all the things that the Lord could delight in, right? And the Lord sees all things. He knows all things. He made everything in this entire universe, and he says, who do I delight in? It's you guys. It's you who trust in Jesus. You're the ones of everything and everyone that I most delight in. And why? Why is that? Well, because, we heard it last week, you're clothed in righteousness. You have the righteousness of my Son. So when I see you, I see perfection. I see the Lord Jesus. I see you as though you've done nothing wrong and you've done everything right. It's just amazing. The Lord delights in us because he sees us like his Son. We're perfect. We sometimes sing a song. It's called "He Will Hold Me Fast." It's the first line of the second verse that gets me every time. Those he saves are his delight, precious in his holy sight. The Lord didn't send his Son to die for us because he had to. He didn't do it out of duty. He did it out of delight. He didn't do it out of pity for us. He did it out of pleasure. It's what he wanted to do. Just think of that classic moment at the wedding. Some of you guys, as you'll kind of be looking forward to it. You know, let's imagine we get invited to a wedding, and there we are. And it's the best bit is when the groom is sort of. I have to turn it. Okay, imagine I'm. Does this work? The sound guy's not going to like this. Okay, right. The groom is standing at the front there. Matt, come and be my best man. Come and be my best man. Okay. Okay, you're here. And I suppose that's the aisle, isn't it? You have to be. I think we're on this side. Okay, I'm on a clip-on. Okay, sorry. Right, there you go. And then the music starts, and the minister says, "Everyone stand." And so when everyone stands, what happens is the bridegroom looks over his shoulder. He looks to see his bride coming up. And the best man's allowed to go, "Oh no, he's meant to look. You're not. You're straight first." And his face will just be full of smiles and delight. And it's the best moment of the wedding because you see, thank you, Matt, you see a little window into the heart of the bridegroom. And of course, she feels it for him as well. But just the way that the literature goes here, it's the love of the husband for his wife here that's being spoken about. It's a lovely, lovely moment. And what we get in verse 5 is kind of a move from the wedding day to the honeymoon in a way. If you look at verse 5, as a young man marries a young woman, so will your builder marry you. Right now into the honeymoon suite, as a bridegroom rejoices over his bride. This is such a bold image. So will your God rejoice over you. The Lord is saying, do you realize how much I love you? Just think of the intensity a husband has for his wife. If you're a child here, think how much your daddy loves your mummy and your mummy loves your daddy. Just think of that, And then think if they were totally perfect, how pure and rich and intense that love would be. Well, then we're getting a tiny glimpse into the way God feels about all of us. That's how he feels about us. And so we're the loved ones. We're beloved. We should maybe change our name to Hepzibah Church, Bishopston. Beulah Church, Bishopston. I wonder, do you sometimes feel you don't love yourself very much? Do you sometimes wish you were somebody else? Maybe you don't like your appearance, or you don't like the way you struggle at school, or the fact you feel you're not sporty enough, or you're not clever enough, or you're not cool enough, or you have some health issue that really gets you down, or maybe you just feel dirty inside. You feel your sin. And you don't feel that good about yourself, and maybe you think other people don't feel that good about you either, and they think they really don't like you. Well, hear this, dear sad person. The Lord knows you better than anyone else, and he is head over heels in love with you. He's over the moon about you. We could say, God is crazy about us. He loves us that much. And I find I have to consciously tell myself this every day, almost every day. Start the day turning back to God and saying, I'm sorry, Lord, for the wrong things I've done and said and thought, and I'm grieved by them, but I turn back to you. Thank you that Jesus died for me, that I can be forgiven and perfect in your sight, and thank you that my true name today is Hepzibah. My true name today is Beulah. No matter how it feels, that is what's true. And one day it's going to be clear for everybody to see. Now, if I'm honest, I do feel a bit silly wearing this morning coat today, this wedding suit. It does feel a bit silly. It doesn't feel reflective of who I am and how I feel on the inside. But the thing is, it actually was my dad. He gave it to me. He said, you can have this. And I kind of think what I had to do today is getting dressed up for this, this service is what we do every day, right? Spiritually, we go, God, he loves me. I have a wedding to get ready for. Right, let me put on the wedding suits. Let me go for it. Here we go, because I'm loved by the Lord, and I'm going to enjoy that. I'm going to revel in that, and I'm going to encourage my brothers and sisters that is true for them too. How do we know God loves us this much? Well, he sent his son to die for us. That's the cast iron proof. We're going to sing about that now, and then we're going to pray.